Good morning. Tony Nichols here again from Church Alive, Northwest Arkansas, located in Bentonville. I'm excited to share another vlog with you called The Way Forward is Hidden. And I want to begin with Psalm 77 and verse 19. And it says this, "Your way was in the sea, and your paths in the mighty waters, and your footprints were not known." Also, let me read to you 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. It says this, "No temptation has overtaken you except something common to mankind, and God is faithful, so he will not allow you to be tempted or tested beyond what you are able, but with the temptation or test will provide the way of escape also, so that you will be able to endure it." Perhaps you've had the experience of walking with the Lord and all seems well, and then you're hearing his voice and receiving his direction one day seems to go away. You arise, and the path with the Lord cannot seem to be found. He's silent, and you don't know why. You begin to cry out, "Lord, where are you? What am I supposed to be doing? Why is this going on?" Let me give you a couple of examples from Psalm 77:19 and my 7th grade math teacher. Her name was Miss Gerda Manock. In the Psalm 77:19, I want you to visualize two sets of footprints walking along the beach. You're walking with the Lord. You're walking beside him. Even if you're behind him, you see the footprints and you're able to follow him. And all of a sudden, he just turns to the right into the sea. And it's a little windy that day, and the sea is deep, and the waves are beginning to roar. And he says to you, "Follow me." And he walks into the sea and disappears. And you're like, I can't do that. And yet the way the Lord is calling you is into the mighty waters and into the depths of the sea. Let me give you just another illustration. Our math teacher said, "When I teach, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to draw illustrations on the board. I'm going to give you practice problems. But when I test, I'm going to be silent." And she just demanded that we pay attention and really learn well in class. And then when the test time came, she didn't let you come up to her desk and ask questions. She wanted you to really think critically, and she wanted you to discover what you knew and really what you didn't know. So when we're walking with the Lord and all of a sudden he seems silent, or he's calling us into something that seems a bit overwhelming or over our head, we're to learn to walk by faith and not by sight and emotions. It's easy to walk with the Lord when you can see the footprints and clearly hear him, and everything feels wonderful. You have joy, you have energy, you have peace. But what do you do when all of that seems to be gone for a season? We have to choose to trust God in his word, or we're stuck in infancy. Some stay and act like a baby their entire lives. When this happens, it's like, "God, why are you treating me this way? And why is this so difficult? And what's going on? And this isn't fair." And what God's trying to do, if you will, is toughen us up a little bit and learn to trust him, trust his character, trust his promises, and keep going even when things are difficult. Sometimes life moves fast. Sometimes in the midst of these challenges, it moves slowly. Sometimes the victory is just to stand and trust the Lord and not give in to doubt and unbelief and all the seeming attacks that are coming our way. God will make one of these three ways to cross the water. He won't give us more than we can endure or overcome. And that's that promise of 1 Corinthians 10:13. Sometimes he will say to us, "Step into the water, and as you get in the water, I'll part it step by step, and I'll bring you through on dry land." When the priests were crossing the Jordan into the promised land, carrying the Ark of the Covenant, the word was, "When you all get your feet in the water, I will part the waters." So I want you to picture something. There's these poles, probably 8 feet long, 9 feet long, and the two priests out front are carrying the ark on their shoulders, and the two in the back are carrying the ark on the shoulders. The two guys out front get their feet in the water and it doesn't part. And they walk out, and all of a sudden they're waist deep and they're chest deep, and they're saying to the priests in the back, "Hurry up and get your feet in the water so this will part and we don't drown." Sometimes we have to step out in faith and obey the Lord and then we will see those waters part. It's a little scary. I've been neck deep a few times, and I've seen the Lord come through very faithfully. It isn't on my timing, it's in His timing. So we step out one step at a time, and the battles rage around us, but God makes a way. And this can be people battling health problems. This can be relationship conflicts in marriage or at work. This can have to do with financial challenges. It can be so many things, and we trust God and we begin to do His word and obey, no matter what we feel. The second thing is, you might become a great swimmer. And what I mean by that is that sometimes God lets us swim through whatever's going on, and we don't go down, we don't drown. We're able to swim through and get to the other side. God didn't say that we'd never have any challenges and problems. He said He'd never leave us and forsake us, and He'd be with us through the trials, and we would overcome. Don't run from your trials. Run to the Lord and ask Him to help you step by step face whatever it is that you're going through. The third area is you may hold Jesus by the hand and learn to walk on the water. It's a miracle. I've had a number of times where I had to step by step obey, and God would make a way. I've had times when I've had to learn to be a better swimmer, and I've had times where I have just seen God miraculously provide as I've stepped out in faith. Let me go back to my math teacher. She was one of the best teachers I ever had because she taught me some life lessons. One of the things that would happen is she would often give a test with 25 questions, each question worth 4 points. If you missed a few questions and you were willing to stay in at recess, she would take 5 minutes to go over a few things, and then she would give you a learning opportunity. You could retake those questions on your test, and if you got them right, she would award you the points. I remember one day I'd missed 3 questions and I had an 88, and I really tried to be an A student. That's a B. I stayed in for recess. I received some further instruction, and when I retook the test, I got 2 of the 3 questions right, and all of a sudden I had a 96, and it was an A. She called those learning opportunities, not failures, but learning opportunities. That's what God does in our life. When you have a test, if you whine and then realize, I don't want to do that, I'll trust God, that's a learning opportunity. Get up. Take that question, that test again. If you get halfway through, like Peter did, and take your eyes off Jesus and sink, Jesus rescued him and then began to instruct him about faith. And so God provides learning opportunities like Miss Manock. The third thing I want to say to you is picking up the footprints again on the other side. He will never leave us or forsake us. He just tests us to see what we know and where we need to grow. God calls us to maturity. The more we walk in obedience and faith, the more we will know His ways and know Him. And the more you mature, the more useful you are to Him, and He will release more insight, more wisdom, more provision, because you're mature and you will invest it and use it well for Him in the kingdom. You'll be fruitful. Let me give you an illustration from my days pastoring at a naval air station outside Seattle, Washington. I had a commander of a squadron, and they were A-6 bombers that flew off of the aircraft carriers. But in his early days as a lieutenant, he was now a captain, he was now a commander over a squadron of like 6 or 8 planes and all the men and women that serviced that. But he said as a young pilot, they were doing ops. They were flying sometimes a 50 or 100 mile circle around the aircraft carrier and doing certain things to prepare them for missions. He said, one day I was 100 miles from the carrier, and all of a sudden the radio and all communications just went silent. And he said, at first I clicked and said, radio, I've lost you and all this. And he said after 2 or 3 minutes, he realized the communications were not going to be restored. He said, here's what we were trained to do. Rather than panic, we were trained to begin to fly in 10-mile squares. You'd fly 10 miles this way, turn 10 miles, turn 10 miles, 10 miles. Because he said at 10 miles, you could see halfway into the middle. He said if you didn't see the ship doing that, you would expand your grid to another 10 miles. And he said after about 4 of those laps, he said, I saw the ship off in the distance. But he said that's really how you walk by faith. When you seem to lose sight of the Lord, you continue to do the things that you know God tells you to do. You continue to trust him. And he said along the way, you will pick back up with him again. It was a great illustration, and it's been something useful in my life. I hope it is in yours. I want to leave you with this vital truth, and I'll be done for today. When the teacher teaches, the teacher talks. When the teacher tests, the teacher is silent. Let's all pass these tests. Trust God and his character. Trust the promise of his word. Walk by faith. Stay strong and be very fruitful. The way forward may be hidden, but this will help you find the footprints on the other side. Thanks. See you again.